A Republican lawmaker is now introducing an amendment to the Constitution to allow Trump to run for a third term. This is a pure virtue signal. Like 100, it's literally just like knob slobbing. And which lawmaker, by the way? Ogles. The 22nd amendment. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. This is literally knob slobbing. Too early for them to start this. I actually do believe, genuinely, I do think that the honeymoon period is going to run out pretty quick. Keep in mind that after 9/11, George W. enjoyed a honeymoon period that lasted basically until his second term. I mean, obviously it fell off over time, but I think that the Trump administration has a limited length of time that they can, like, during which they can pretend to operate with the mandate of heaven, basically. You know what I mean? Trump's honeymoon period didn't even crack 50% approval. Well, isn't his approval rating higher now than it was before? Because this time all of the media has bent the knee to him? Yeah, it's higher now than it was before. As of right now, incredibly, he actually hasn't cracked favorable. It looked like he was about to, but unfavorable has held the lead just barely and is now pulled apart a little bit. See? Right here, like right up until his inauguration at 0.2, but yeah, the Nazi salute probably didn't help. No, I don't think it did. It's little bits, a little while until eventually it happens all at once. You can control the media as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like, reality will always catch up to you. It'll always catch up to everyone. I do not believe in any fascist system that is so stable that it can avoid the consequences of its actions, basically, is what I'm saying. No matter how much of a tech dystopia you create, no matter how, like, conniving you are, no matter how much power you consolidate, I don't believe you can build a base stable enough. What about North Korea? Well, North Korea is, for one, I would argue, not really stable, and two, not fascist in the way that I'm talking about. They're kind of in a different situation. Also, I would argue that for the most part, North Korea operates rationally in how it conducts itself as a geopolitical entity. You know, for example, if North Korea was just fascist, they would have warred with South Korea by now. But I don't think they will. They're more of a, like, I mean, like a hyper-isolationist, ultra-autocratic dictator. There are distinctions. I think the main one, honestly, is that a fascist regime requires constant hysteria from the people. And as far as I can tell, from whatever we hear about North Korea, which, by the way, a lot of the stuff we hear about from within North Korea, bullshit made up by attention seekers and US state actors, okay? So just to be clear. But from what I've heard and what I can parse and what I believe, I don't think the average North Korean citizen is living in a constant state of, like, hysteria and fervor and so on and so forth, of hyper-nationalism. I think that for the most part, most of the country is feudal. Like, just feudal. And then you have, like, Pyongyang or whatever, and maybe a few other cities where the cities exist as basically like an extension of the federal building, where the whole thing operates to, like, yeah, fuel the hermetic dictatorship. But it doesn't operate the way like a fascist government does. I'm not saying it's not bad over there. I would actually argue that what they're doing over there, totalitarian, like, neo-feudalism, is much more stable than fascism. I would also argue what they're doing is very fascistic. So maybe this is me waffling. I do think there are meaningful distinctions here, though. What makes you think the oligarchy will continue to be fascist instead of transitioning to neo-feudalism? Well, I think they want to. I think that a huge problem, though, is that at the end of the day, these systems are built to enrich the people on top, to secure their power and longevity. And the thing is, how do you secure the longevity of the Kim dynasty? You threaten to nuke the world, but don't, because if you ever do nuke the world, the rest of the world will annihilate you. If North Korea ever fired a nuke, the entire peninsula would be reduced to glass overnight. There would be nothing left, not a survivor. It would be over. So the Kim dynasty understands this, so they threaten to try to keep people off of them, you know, but they don't actually. They oppress, they torture their citizens, they arrest them as they're needed to. But for the most part, they operate in a very limited isolationist capacity, certainly economically. But America, our ruling class, isn't a blood dynasty. It's an economic class, right? The bourgeoisie. And over here in America, the bourgeoisie have gained unimaginable wealth off the back of an extremely complicated global economic system. Basically, what I'm saying is you can keep a dictatorship a lot more stable when your economy is like iron factories and turnip farming. When your economy is this insanely complicated, like global, like internet access, everything gets made in 17 different countries before it makes its way to the consumer. Every trade deal is like 5 different countries shaking hands. Like everything gets too complicated to turn into like a feudal hermetic kingdom. You can still kind of try to build like neo-feudalism, but realistically speaking, do you know what would happen to the global economy and the American bourgeoisie if, I don't know, California seceded as a state, or like if you tried to build out these like hermetic feudal societies? It would fuck everything up. Like it would break everything, you know? It would shatter the global economy. Like billions of people would suddenly see their quality of life plunge. So that's what I think saves us, complexity, you know? Yeah, you can't be isolationist and globalist at the same time. That makes sense? I don't know. I'm just yapping, man. I'm just yapping. Hopefully Trump's unfavorability keeps growing, which is what happens with basically every president. What was the last president we had whose favorability continued to grow throughout their presidency without there being some gigantic inciting event? Like 9/11 with Bush, I know. But FDR, granted. Obama? For the most part, it trends downwards. You have events, but... Oh, I covered that, Black in the Borg. So the one who's proposing the amendment to allow Donald Trump to run for a 3rd term, he was the guy, yeah, scammed $25,000 for a memorial garden commemorating his unborn child, took the money and ran. This guy is incredible. We covered this guy. This guy is like one of the most shameless, evil grifters in Congress. The freshman Republican raised the money using a photo of his stillborn child. That is genuinely incredible stuff. A GoFundMe scam. Republican politicians are on something else, man.